1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ground Up Podcast. My name is Matt Walton, here with Matt Huber. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. We have a confusing podcast today because we got three Matts available today. Matt, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm excited to doctor this thing. So
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting.
Awesome. So Matt is a senior director of sales dev over at RealPage. Tell us a little bit about the company and what you do over there.
yeah. So RealPage, we are a real estate software company. We're based here in Richardson, Texas, right outside of Dallas. We do all of the front and back end technology for single family owners and operators, multifamily owners and operators. We have hundreds of solutions that we sell, and we do a bunch of the stuff that is super important for our customers, and they're just keeping their business and their rent coming in. So
Matt, what is your customer? Like, who is your customer? Is it a realtor? I mean, who's using RealPage?
yeah, so there's ownership groups and management groups all over the country. You've got people who just own the assets. You have people who just manage assets. Some of the big property management companies out there. You've got Lincoln Properties. You've got Greystar. You've heard of some of these places, but they manage hundreds of thousands of units all over the country. And then you have people who do both, so they kind of own and operate. But the goal for all of them is continue to buy and more real estate and build their portfolios, whether they're owning them or managing them.
It's funny you say that because Matt Walton and I were just having a conversation last night. So just to give you a background, Matt, on what Matt Walton does is he's a real estate wholesaler. And so he runs an operation in currently 4 different markets, and it's an ever expanding and evolving process. He's been doing wholesaling for a while, and he shared with me last night, he's like, man, I'm really, really moving towards the wanting to get to having thousands of doors. And he was like, hey, I'm going to need to learn out about investors. I'm going to need to learn about how to underwrite these deals and all this other stuff. And it just sounds like such a daunting idea to me, a guy. I own my home. I've got a rental property. That's about enough for me to manage when it comes to real estate myself. But Matt, have you heard of RealPage before? I mean, does that come across your scope? Matt Walton, that is. Have you heard of RealPage before in like what you do?
Yeah, actually, because I've been looking at property management software because we're about to take on a couple. We have a flip going on right now, which doesn't need property management software, but we have a couple subject to properties we're about to buy, and we're going to need to collect rent and pay rent on both sides of it. And so I was looking at a few of those, and so RealPage did come up, and I checked that one out also. Yeah, and I'm excited about it. I think that it's something that I would definitely look forward to, especially around 1,000 doors of understanding a good software that we can use and our property management team uses. So absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your role there, exactly what you do, and it seems like you have a 40-person team. You got 2 managers under you. How are you running that team right now? How does it run through you?
So the difficult part about RealPage is learning RealPage. It's learning, understanding real estate, understanding why and how people buy real estate, so you get in the mind of your customer. We have 100 plus products, and those products, we have a whole marketing suite, we have revenue management suite, we have utility management, and each one of those suites and product sets have their own competitors, their own buyers, their own markets, their own everything. So you've got to really learn all of that. You also have to learn sales, how we sell, team selling environment here. And so you got to learn that. And so there's so much information to absorb that my team really is the point at which everyone starts their career at RealPage in the sales department. So we call it the RealPage Sales Academy. We've, over the last 5 years or so, we've promoted 100 plus people into full account executive roles and watched launch incredible careers. And so what we do is we do all of the hiring, training, developing, and then promoting up through the organization, as well as meeting appointments and, setting up appointments and the pipeline and deals that come from that.
So Matt, let me ask you this. Was the idea of structuring your sales organization an idea that you came up with? Was it a joint thing? Was it somebody higher up in the business? I mean, kind of who came and devised that plan?
It was set in place when I got here. I think, this type of a program was something that they always wanted to launch here. If you don't have experience launching these types of programs and with this age group and demographic and all the things that come with it, it's very difficult. So I was kind of brought in 5 years ago or so with, another guy, Matt Buchalski, to make it even more fun. And we had both really done this with our careers, and this is what we had done, is built these programs up and stuff. And so that's really kind of became the launch of where we're at today.
So
I love it.
I want to
Go
ask you
ahead,
this.
Matt.
'Cause I want to ask what your hiring process is, because you guys are looking to develop a lot of people, and it's kind of the first where people start their career. So, how much do you focus on the resume? How much do you focus on personality? I mean, what kind of a process do you go through when you're looking to hire talent?
So we have somebody applies, they have a recruiter screen, they move forward to a cold call exercise where we give them a scenario. We want to see how they put together a 1 minute pitch or so. Once we see that plus the resume, we decide whether or not we're going to do the first round interview. Always, I have two managers on that first round interview. If they're both in agreement, it moves to the final interview, and that's where myself, and our VP of Inside Sales, we both do the final interview together. Um, I've we really incorporate that next level management team into everything that we're doing here, so that we're making sure we're bringing in people that they would hire, and we're developing them and training them so that our end product, our person, is ready to roll as soon as they're through the program.
How important is the resume to you, though? I mean, like, is that really, if they do, they say they have never had any sales experience before at all, and they've never talked to anybody on the phone like that. You got them on the cold calling exercise, and they did okay. Like, there was, they had energy, they had passion. Does that matter to you guys, or like, hey, I want to see some kind of go through the trenches first and then come to us?
It does matter to me a lot, in a couple reasons. One, I'm looking at it for things other than the experience. I'm looking for, are there typos? Have they taken the time to actually proofread this and make sure that it's good? I'm looking for,
Well,
do
Matt would
they?
fail. Matt Uber would fail right away. He's at
My
his
motto, Matt, is I'm here to sell, not spell. So,
Right. Hey,
yeah, that's my
that's what
motto.
AI is for.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I'll
and,
figure out a way to misspell in AI. I mean, that's how bad I am.
yeah. So I look for that. It helps me piece together a story. Is this somebody who is looking for something? Are there multiple roles in multiple industries? They're hopping all around. It helps me kind of plan out and figure out their story and their journey and where they're on and at what point we are. In that step, we really look at if they have sales experience. Do they have KPIs listed? Because I think we all know that if you don't have KPIs on your resume as a salesperson, it's because they're not any good. And so we look at that. But um, we can tell pretty quickly looking at the resume if it's somebody that we might want to talk to. Somebody doesn't have sales experience or something like that, it's not going to disinterest us if the video is good as well, if that makes sense.
The cold calling exercise is a video based cold calling exercise. They're doing it just with the camera, or are they doing it engaged with somebody else?
Just with the camera.
So
So
it's
the
just an
goal here
elevator
is,
pitch in a sense. That's it.
yeah, and we give them a product to research, and we're really trying to understand how do they break that product down, how do they communicate it, and then they're never very good.
Yeah, but you can, even in that, you can hear tonality, you can hear enthusiasm, you can hear energy, you can hear how much they research. It sounds like attention to detail is obviously important to you based off of your research on the resume. Now, let me ask you this, and maybe you don't know the answer, maybe you do and you don't want to share it with us, but what's your ideal candidate look like on paper? Like, the resume is not there. They all are equally there. Like, is there a profile that says these are the people we do best with? And after, I'll share kind of what my experience has been in similar models with you.
I've hired and interviewed so many people
Right.
for this role that I have this internal system where I can tell within 5 to 10 minutes. I start to think about all the individuals that have been successful and have worked for me. And I'm like, okay, that reminds me of that person and that kind of thing. I think on paper, seeing somebody who, maybe they went to college and they got their degree, that's great. What else were they doing? I was selling shoes through college just to have extra money and that kind of stuff. Somebody who is doing something other than just attending. Were they a part of groups? Were they a part of sororities, fraternities, whatever it may be? Maybe it's somebody who, from their work experience, they've been grinding out in the insurance field and it's 100% commission. And they're like, hey, you're going to give me a salary plus I'm going to be in the AC. That's great. Door knockers, those types of folks that have done difficult jobs. But I also really look for, I don't care if you were a bagger at Tom Thumb, did you get promoted to cashier? Like, were you the captain of your football team in high school? Were you in these positions where other people have noticed your work and have, you've moved up through that? Because I think those are the people that we're looking for, the people who are hungry, that really take pride in their work, that will outwork the person next to them. I always tell my team now that we have a call number on the day, but if you just look at that mountain every day of like, oh, I just got to make my calls, that's all you're going to get. But the reps that succeed are the ones that are focused on the end result, which is I need to go set meetings. And so I don't care if I have to make 200 calls or 3 calls, I'm focused on that end result. And so if you can find that in their background of ways where they've been reaching for goals through that time, it's usually works pretty well.
It's funny you say that because I think both Matt and I, we do a training class every single week, and we typically have around 7 to 10 people every week. And I would tell you within 5 minutes of that training class, within just getting them to tell us their name, where they're from, fun fact about them, within just that little bit of information, I can generally tell if somebody's going to be decent or not. And then we do like a Q&A part, and hearing the type of questions they ask, the way their brain digests the information that Matt and I give them, gives us a lot of insight. And I would say with a very high level of accuracy, both Matt and I can identify the people who will work out pretty quickly in that process. So yeah, when you've done enough, like you've done hundreds of interviews on this role. I've done hundreds, maybe even close to thousands in my time. You get to know that pretty quickly. Now, let me ask you, I'm gonna lay out a scenario. You tell me if you have a preference, and maybe you don't. You have a 22-year-old with no sales experience, but they're just personality through the roof. Okay.
Mhm.
They're driven. You think they have a big future, but they don't have any experience. You've got a 32-year-old who's done a few jobs like that. They look like on the resume they've done the role before, but they've been moderately successful, but they have some experience. Personality's great, just not an overwhelming number of accolades in their 5 to 6 years of doing sales. And then you've got a 48-year-old person who's been very accomplished, but they're coming to you for an SDR role. Out of those 3, which one of those are most attractive to you under this current structure?
Based on that information you gave me, I would say the 22-year-old. I like people who I can train and mold the way that I want them to. I think, especially in the SDR role, you bring people in. I've had people that have come in from different industries and as an SDR, and have found success here, but it's much more risky than that person who you feel like they've got something that I can work with. They have the intangibles.
Yeah.
The older generation, my concern there is the adoption to technology, the understanding of, I've got reps on my team who are in, Copilot, ChatGPT all day, and it's like helping them run their whole thing, and it's like you almost have to be at that level to be able to compete, and I've heard reps say before that, I've had to have trouble with competing with these reps right out of, school or whatever, just because they're just so much more advanced and being more efficient in this role. So
Matt Walton, as I lay out that scenario, what popped in your head? I mean, I think I know which one you would select out of those 3, but what popped in your head about the candidate you would choose, and then the other candidates, what you think of when you hear those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, what our philosophy when we're hiring in the first place is, and something that you've said a long time, Uber, is that sometimes when you've got people who've done roles, the same types of roles, they might be in bad habits, or they picked up bad habits along the way, and so now you got to get them shaped back into where you need to be, and that could be a longer process. It might not even work out. So having somebody who's, like you said, Matt, is that 22-year-old coming in, and they're coming in that you can mold the way they need to, and they're just excited, they're driven. There's somebody that we can put in the place and give them a purpose and a direction to head towards. That's the person that we're always going to go for. Yeah, I mean, for somebody old like Matt Uber over here, yeah, we have to make sure that you guys understand what ChatGPT is and things like that also.
I'll give him a special shout out on here too, because his name is also Matt. But Matt Schauser worked for me for a while. He managed Papa's Bros Steakhouse here in Dallas for 10 or 15 years, did a complete career pivot. But I'll tell you, in his interview, he was definitely more on the older side coming in. He had known some people here internally, but through the course of the interview, he was talking about how, I still remember this today. This was 4 or 5 years ago, but I still remember he would say that when he would wait a table, he realized that if he offered this type of wine, this red wine that was $2 more a glass than the regular one that they typically the house wine or whatever, that if he offered just that, he could add an extra $1,000 a month in sales, offering that as the first bottle as opposed to the house. And that really stuck with me because I'm like, okay, this guy has it. He understands. He's thinking about it differently than everyone else around him. And he's going to be one of those that if he's making this huge career pivot and change, he's got to make it work. He's got the mortgage, he's got the family, he's got people that are depending on him, and dude crushed it. I mean, he hit his yearly number in 6 months. So, yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I think having the willingness to look at the exceptions to the rule and not just always focus on the rule, I think is super important. I mean, another thing that Matt you mentioned and you've highlighted, and so much of what you guys are doing at RealPage is what I kind of innovated at a previous company that Matt and I worked together at before, which is the idea of everybody starts at entry level, everybody ultimately grows, and it sounds like based off of what you've explained is you're kind of the head of that snake in regards to being able to have the first touch and the first pass along with your managers and your VP of inside sales. You guys are basically shaping the future of RealPage and the sales organization by putting that foundational skill set into them so that when they're ready to grow, they've already established and instilled that. Now, the question I would have for you though is, Matt, what are the characteristics once they're in the SDR role? We talked about what it takes to get to there, but once they're in there, what are the traits, the characteristics, the results you're looking for somebody to be identified as somebody who would be one of those 100+ people who've been promoted?
Yeah. Great question. And I would say, just like the interview process, I can tell within somebody's first week whether they're probably going to make it or not based on the questions they ask, their engagement in the trainings. Are they just sitting there, just staring at you, absorbing information? Are they asking next level questions? Because as an SDR, you can be the dumbest person in the room, but if you ask the most questions, you're the most curious, you're going to have the best results. Because that's all it is just talking to somebody and being genuinely curious in their business, the challenges they're faced with, and then asking them like, how are those affecting you today? So I think curiosity is super important. Energy, personality, those are things that, typically resonate really well. Grit, the ability to just come in and grind on the phones or, do that and just constantly learn. I think when you look at the reps that have come through here that have climbed very quickly, we promote on what we call the 3 Ps. So production, how are you performing against your quotas? Personal brand, what do you say? What do people say about you when you leave the room? And then preparation, what have you done to get prepared for that next level? And so the reps that we see come through here, they're consistently hitting quota. They don't have to be the best. They're just consistent. The reps that we don't have to harp on for activity because they're getting the results. They are reading sales books. They're setting time on people's calendars. They're absorbing as much information as they can. They're in all of the meetings that I have with the executives, and their names are just consistently popping up, and they're getting asked to do different things and all of that. So, I think that's really what we're looking for. And, through the Sales Academy, we have a 3-tiered system. So everyone comes in at launch, then they hit graduation criteria, move to accelerate, hit that criteria, move to elevate, and then become promotion ready. And they become into the pool that the rest of the company can then pluck in. But that is all based on those things. Like, how are they doing against those quotas and those attainments and all the different things that they're doing to prepare? So
what does a promotion look like there? So, I mean, like for me, I think that in our business, when we have SDRs, we bring in, train, and develop. Typical growth path in our business is in one of 3 ways. It's either you go and learn how to be an account executive. Now you're presenting and closing deals. Secondarily, we're looking to have you move into a position where you're leading and coaching and training other people, right? In a kind of a supervisor role. And then third, we have other areas of our business that we've identified you for to be able to excel at based off the personality traits and the performance. Now, one of the foundational things that everybody has to do is you have to be a top tier performer. We have a overall monthly grading system that we use, which factors in performance, but we don't just factor in performance because, I mean, we've all worked at a sales organization that just promotes the best seller, but they don't have all the other soft skills. That personal brand might suck. They probably are the least prepared person, but they just are naturally talented. So we care about the performance, but there's a factor of like 6 or 7 different things that go into our monthly grade. And one of the things we do, Matt, that's I think different than a lot of companies and gives us the ability to do this because we're not in a corporate environment any longer, which is we have a scoreboard, and that every single month, that scoreboard puts everybody's grades up every single month, and they can see how they rank against their peers. So it's really never a surprise when somebody qualifies to get promoted. It's never a surprise when somebody gets promoted on what their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. And that also aligns into what we do the coaching on to continue to develop them. So when somebody is ready to get developed and ready to get promoted, what are the options in RealPage for them to go to?
Well, we have about 8,000 employees across the globe. So we're a very large company. So there's tons of departments. We call this the Sales Academy though, because we were looking for people who want to grow their sales career. That's the number one goal. So I would say 90% of our reps go into a full cycle sales role. We have what we call an account representative. Think about them as the quarterback. They just kind of handle the relationship and manage all the people. We have solution reps that are salespeople that are just focused on one product suite. So maybe our marketing reps are, our CRM reps, those kind of reps. And then we have SEs that help with the whole thing. So there's a whole team environment that we build out. So a lot of our reps go into those roles. We do have, if we identify, I feel like it was Nick Saban that said, at some point in your life, somebody's going to figure out, are you on the right bus and are you on the right seat on the bus, or do you need to get off the bus? And so we're always evaluating, is this the right person for RealPage, but maybe they're just in the wrong seat? And is there a better seat where we could, use that? But we also say you have to be performing in this role in order to go to another department. We want to make sure that we're doing that well. So, but most of our hires go into sales. We have had two reps that have moved into SDR leadership. We've had rep move into go into marketing. We've had multiple reps go into customer success. So if they're performing, they're doing right, sales just may not be the right career path for them. We typically try to find them a home within the organization if we can.
Are you guys all remote, or do you make people go into an office?
I make people.
It's hard. I did think it feels like
We
that.
are hybrid right now.
Yeah.
With 3 days a week in the office, 2 days at home. We have reps that come in all the time. Our global headquarters is here in RealPage, and there's a lot of perks to being in the office around people, learning, being, our chief sales officer sits right behind our SDR team, like being able to interact with him every day. I mean, it makes you building a career here a lot more successful when you're actually around the people and, you're visible.
So you mean, so when you're looking to hire people, you have to find people where you have offices at, and then find the talent around there that can.
We have all of our SDRs here in Dallas, so I have to find them all local, and so it's tough.
Has there ever been a discussion around globalizing or at least nationalizing the talent search? Because I say that because when I was at Dealer On, one of the big challenges we had is when we first started building an inside sales team or an SDR team, they wanted to do it from the local Grand Rapids office. And we started with 3 or 4 people. But what we found is we run out of like really, really sharp talent, right? And so when I had the idea to grow that team to 5 people to over 40, I said, we're going to have to open this up to have the ability to have people who can do this job remote. There's obviously, and we're going to get more about the culture of RealPage, because I think you guys do something really cool that I've seen on the social around culture, but there's a value of having people in an office, having that in-office culture, but then being limited to geographical recruiting versus nationalizing or even globalizing the value of recruiting, which Matt and I have seen a value in, but then having to be able to learn how to manage and hold people accountable without the culture and without the ability to touch and feel. So I assume that's all been weighed out for you guys.
Yeah. And, we don't have any satellite offices outside of, I think we have one in India and one in the Philippines, but most of our operations are here in Dallas. We have the beauty of being a destination area for people right now. I mean, everyone's trying to move to Texas, and Dallas the tech scene is starting to blow up pretty decently here. We've recently partnered with the TCU sales program. So starting to get involved with some of the locals, universities and all of that kind of stuff. But we've seen a ton of people moving from out of state. We just hired Emmy from Brown University, and then we've hired a couple people from, San Diego State. So a lot of folks that are trying to move to Dallas. They have friends that have moved here and started career here that are starting to come. So,
okay.
But I
you're
would
recruiting out of Dallas, but saying, hey, if you want the job, you got to be in Dallas.
You got to come in. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're also finding, like, I would say 2 or 3 years ago, I was beating the drum more about trying to go and hire in other markets. But as of now, we've seen this shift in a lot of people trying to move to Dallas, that it hasn't really become an issue for us.
Awesome. So
Let
with
me ask you this. Let me ask you this question because culture. Talk about being in office, the benefits of that. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that I see some pictures of some people holding some hammers or something like that. Like, look, those are the small things that, man, I could tell you go a long way with reps. Is that recognition, being put on social, having a you explain it more, probably better than I can. But what do you guys do around creating that culture and that environment of success?
So the Hammer Award used to be an award that I put out for years and that I brought into RealPage. I've retired that as of this year.
Oh,
I've
okay.
retired the Hammer. Because we started coming into this year, yes, I 100% agree. Culture is all about making everyone feel valued, feel like their hard work is, being shown and broadcasted. And actually our chief sales officer came up with the idea at the turn of the year of, hey, we have President's Club for all of our sales reps, but none of our SDRs are eligible for that. And he's like, I'd still like them to get that club level type exposure with executives. And so we started an SDR quota club. So every single month, all they have to do is hit 120% of their quota. And we go out and do fun stuff with all the executives. So, we've done like Top Golf. We actually got the Cowboys Club at Frisco this last go around, which we have a lot of videos that are going to be coming out with that. That was pretty cool. So we try to secure a really cool venue and an opportunity for the reps to just, network and get to know people. But then you start to see your top performers that are consistently coming back and back and back to these events. So that's one of the things that we do. We have as a company, every Tuesday we have sales shout outs. And so the whole sales team comes together on the floor and we do different shout outs that way. But I look at it like my philosophy on culture is that we have to hire for it and we have to fire for it. So we have to bring in people that fit what we're trying to build. If we invest in our people, the results will come. And so everything we do is based on training and developing, making it fun, call contests. We did an NFL themed blitz, I think last week. We got 12 of the RealPage Dallas Cowboys club level tickets that we were able to use, for the winners of that competition. But we did a call blitz where, basically we put everybody on teams. They called in the middle. We had a halftime where downstairs we brought out a PS5 and Madden, and we had a whole Madden tournament against the account reps. We brought pizza and wings and all of that, and then went back up to finish the blitz. So we try to do fun stuff like that where, yes, you're coming into the office, but while you're here, you're having fun. We're building good relationships. You're getting, to do fun things.
I believe the most important thing a manager or a coach can do in a sales role is manage KPIs. Do you mind sharing with me the KPIs that you think you should track if you're managing SDRs and kind of what you think of when you're reviewing KPIs with the manager?
Yeah, I think there's multiple KPIs to talk about. One being activity, one being personal brand preparation type KPIs that you're looking for too. I think on that side of the thing, like I want to see a rep that's consistently meeting with leadership, with the top sales reps. They have a strategy. They have things that they're doing. I want to see that they're doing that monthly and not just right before, the interview process. Now, from an activity standpoint,
Before we move on to the activity, because I asked the question more on the activity side, but what you're talking about really interests me. On the personal brand side, how do you measure that? Like, I mean, what are the KPIs? If I came to you and I was an SDR who's hungry, wants to know everything I need to do to show you I'm serious, what would the KPIs you give me on how to show you that around the personal brand?
I would make a list of maybe 10 people that I know have influence here, that I know will be a part of those types of conversations. And I'll say, these are the 10 people that you need to focus on meeting in some capacity. I think we have what's called the velocity tracker, which is, it's a document that the reps get at the beginning of their career here that has 3 tabs: production, personal brand, preparation. And that's where they're basically logging all of this information on. And in order to move steps throughout, from that launch, accelerate, elevate, they're having to show us that and present us and walk us through what they're doing. That's the kind of the checks and balance there of where they're saying, these are the things that I've done to get noticed. these are the leaders I've met with. Here were the takeaways I got from them and all of that. So that's kind of how we measure it.
Okay. And now around the activity. So we're going to measure activity, and you're saying, first off, text, emails, calls, primary activity, at least front side, right? Do either of them have more weight to you than others, or are they all equal in your sense?
I actually look at it a little different. We're not texting. We don't do texting. In some cases we do, but in this industry, we're kind of R for LinkedIn, email, voicemail, and call. And I think that I've been screaming this all year, but I think that the number one way to stand out in 2025 is leaving a voicemail when you call. Like, I mean, if you go through my phone, you'll see from last month 50 something plus missed calls and one voicemail. Like, and people don't leave voicemails because they think the goal of the voicemail is to get a call back, when really the goal of the voicemail is to point them to your email to try to get them to look at your message and to know it's you that's on the other end.
Stop there. Matt, if a random person called you and left a voicemail, do you listen to it at all, Matt Walton?
Yeah, no, I will. I was thinking about that a second ago because I kept getting a call from a random number in Utah, and they kept calling, and they've never left a voicemail. I was like, I'm not going to answer this phone. Like, if you left a voicemail, then I would know who you are, and maybe I'd answer it back again. So I was just thinking about that an hour ago.
So,
I mean,
Matt,
my
you were
philosophy is
saying,
like, think about like when people call you and they don't leave a voicemail, it tells you it's not important. You know, you have a friend that calls you, doesn't leave a voicemail, you'll call them back because it's your friend probably, but
they send a text right after or something right after, let me know, like, hey, you need to call.
Yeah.
And it's important, absolutely. Yeah.
But, so
So I
Matt,
think
what
there's
you're-
emphasis on voicemails. I mean, I have voicemails in there, and if I'll look at it for a little bit, and I get a lot of calls that are supposed to go to my team because I'm the face of the company that I have. So a lot of people call me directly, and it goes to my phone from my CRM. And so I'll kind of look at it real quick and just see who it is. If it's a realtor calling me, and I just direct them to the right person. But if they don't ever leave a voicemail, I would never know, and I would never even do anything with that call.
But Matt, so what I think I heard you say is that this is an opportunity for you to sell the voicemail. Is that kind of what you're saying as well? Like when I get that voicemail, I'm leaving a little bit of information about RealPage, about me, that's going to entice them. Because you said it's not about leaving a voicemail. It's not the intention is to get them to call back, but it's, and I cut you off before you got to say what it was for.
yeah, I mean, I think if you look at SDR work, the goal is to make someone feel obligated to respond.
Okay.
Positive or
Yeah.
negative,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
they're only going to feel obligated to respond if they can see the amount of work and effort that you're putting in to get in front of them. So I tell my reps all the time, let's just say for 2 straight weeks, every Tuesday, you called my phone, didn't leave a voicemail. I would and then you sent me an email. I would never connect the fact that you are calling me twice a week to that this number calling me twice a week also sent this email. I don't put that 2 and 2 together. And then let's say you're hitting me on LinkedIn as well. Now I can make the connection between email and LinkedIn, but I don't make the connection on the phone. And so when it's like, you're hitting me on the phone, you're leaving me voicemails, I pick up the phone like, yeah, Matt, what do you want? What can I do to help? You know, because now it's like, I'm feeling some sort of a pressure to respond to that.
What's a typical voicemail sound like for you guys?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Like on a first call, first attempt, I'm leaving a voicemail. What does that sound like?
I really like what the guys over at 30 Minutes to President's Club, they wrote a book that's called Cold Calling Sucks, and that's why it works, which we try to buy all of our new hires that come through here because it's very updated, it's very flashy, but it's essentially like, hey, we're working with other folks just like you in the area. No need to call me back. Check out my email. I'm about to hit send. The subject line is whatever. And then what we're trying to do is get them to go and look at that email and actually read the content of why we're reaching out to them.
So is that where that's coming from? That whole you have people going to your door, like the door knockers, and they're like, "Oh, we're working with Mr. Johnson down the street." And then I do that. I go, so which one's Mr. Johnson? I'll do that every time. I mess with them. Which one is it? I was like, no, that's not Mr. Johnson. I know that is. That's not Mr. Like I'll play with them like that because they do it every time. And I'm like, oh, come on now, that's coming from like that.
It's interesting that you say that, Matt, because for me, like I think there's a stage process and a general outreach cadence, cold cadence that I do. First attempt of a voicemail is, hey, Matt, it's Matt. Give me a call back when you get a chance. Here's my cell. Quick, direct, not saying anything, just trying to create urgency, enthusiasm, energy, curiosity, right? But I am attaching the name. Now, Then the next call I make, I won't leave a voicemail. And then the next call after that, I'll say, hey, I sent you some information. There's stages to when I divulge a little bit more information, where the first attempt, I'm trying to engage a call back. Because for me, I think that the most important thing is getting them on the phone. I think engaging with them over an email creates the power is in the person who's receiving, because they can read what I say and then decide not to respond. If I get them on the phone, I've got the power on my side at that point. Eventually, I start providing more information in the email, more information in the voicemail to kind of solve that problem you have. But I do like the voicemail that you just said is, hey, no need to call me back. I'm actually going to send you the email. I'm hitting send on it right now. Here's the subject line, which has them being able to go search for that and look for that when they listen to the voicemail. Now, in general, does that, I assume that's increased your open rate on your emails when you use that?
Yeah, it does. And like, to your point, like it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to respond to the email or look at it, but it's letting them know the reason behind our call and that we're trying to do that. And typically, and then our email is going to be hyper personalized based on, what we found about them. So it shows them that we've put in the effort on the back end in that,
Yeah.
Can you go over that a little bit too on the emails too, like how you hyper personalize it? Because I want to kind of give value to anybody listening about, like, if they're an SDR person trying to get into this, learning from you right here. Obviously, not going through your sales academy that you guys have, but if little tips and tricks that help them get a little
If
better.
you want to move to Dallas, you can. So just let us know.
Yeah, we're always hiring. I think, well, so a couple ways to think about personalization. One, you want this person to feel like this email was written directly for them. And I think in the world of AI and AI tools and automatic email personalization writing tools, the biggest challenge right now is getting someone to see this as something you actually wrote. And you have to prove that you're a human. You have to prove that, you found something. I'll give you one little tip. People always, when they personalize emails to me, they always use the hammer, whatever my most recent post is, or something like that. I'm an easy person I just got a lot online, to use. But if you look under my college experience on my LinkedIn profile, it says pre-dental club. And I always tell reps that reach out to me, nobody's ever sent me an email with the subject line, Arkansas pre-dental club. I'm the only person, around that resonates with. And that's going to get my attention to open it. And then it's how do you craft that, and how do you, position that into, a reason that you're using it. And even if you just say, hey, I was on your LinkedIn, I bet I'm the first person this week to send you an email about the pre-dental club in Arkansas. This is why I'm trying to get a hold of you. It just resonates with people more. So I'm always looking at, go 2 steps deeper than the next person. Not creepy, but 2 steps deeper in the info that you pull up,
You have a mole on your right here.
Yeah, I just saw your post from 3 years ago that I liked it.
I was actually watching a video this weekend, Matt Walton, about that, and the lady said that what they do on the personalized emails, they'll find 3 things. So for you, Matt Reuter, it would be dental club, hammer, organized wife in the subject line, like those 3 things with separate things. So, but what you're saying, Matt, is you'll put them in the subject line.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be, because the key is to get them to open it, right? You want to stand out to get them to open it. Then in the body of the email, you're going to reference how you got to say that, but then try to be able to relate it to what you're ultimately trying to sell.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And as an SDR, I assume this is the case, but what are your SDR sell?
Meetings.
Thank you.
We sell time blocks on our account executives' calendars. That's it.
That's the answer I hope every SDR manager answers when you do that, because the last thing I wanted to hear you say is, well, we at RealPage do this. Wrong answer. Your SDRs, what you teach them to do is to sell a meeting, sell an appointment, sell a demo, whatever that might be. Okay, so we talked about the 4 types of activity, but it also sounds to me like, Matt, for you, it's not a volume is not your most important thing. It is a quality over quantity thing for you. And you care mostly on the outcome. Am I accurate in that understanding?
Yeah. And it mainly has, so I did the first half of my career in telecom, selling security and network. Everybody and their mom can use that. But over here on this side, we only have so many people that own enough real estate across the country that need RealPage. And so our customer base is very limited. And so if those interactions that we have with our customers are not, or our prospects are not super thought out, strategic, personalized, we can lose credibility very, very, very fast. We're not, I've had so many companies reach out to me trying to sell me the new dialer technology, which is fantastic technology. If you're not just needing to rip out, hundreds of phone calls each day, it's, you have to be really methodical in it. So we teach a lot of that, the research, the prep, making sure that every phone call has a, a reason for reaching out. And that's something we try to coach everyone on.
So with that, since you guys are so hyper personalized on a lot of things, you're trying to do that. What's the KPIs look like for your sales reps? And are they lower than what a typical sales rep would typically be because they're just hitting the phones and hammering one after the other? Or what? Yeah, how do you adjust to that?
Yeah, I mean, all we do is we throw out a minimum call, and we try to tell the reps that that call number is not going to be the number that you are going to need, but that you have to look at your individual data to decide how many calls you have to make. We have some reps who are super lethal on the phone, and they maybe connect to 5 people, and they get 3 meetings out of those 5 connections. We have some reps that take 10 connections to get a meeting, or they're newer or whatever. So that volume is going to have to swing up. So, we really try to push the reps to understand their data, what their data is saying, and create their own equation, and then scale it up or down based on their equation.
So you're not really cared about the calls necessarily, like how many meetings are we getting? Like for example, in my business, so we're doing wholesaling, and so we have to get contracts. And to get contracts, you can't get a contract without an offer. So I care about my acquisition reps. I don't care how many people you talk to. I don't care how many people you text. I want to know, are you putting out at least 5+ offers a day? Because that 5+ offers a day equals 25 offers a month, which should equal to at least 1 contract. That's all new offers, not the follow-up offers and the things like that bring in more. But you got to get that out every single day. So we care more about that than we do phone calls.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like, if you're trying to lose weight and you're counting every single rep, and you're all you're focused on is, oh, I've got to do X number of workouts this week, and I've got to eat like this and all of that, it gets discouraging. But when you're looking at the scale and you're looking at the weight coming down, your progress is paying out. So it's not about how much work and effort am I doing to get the number down, it's that, is the number going down? So we're always looking at that.
It's so interesting. And Matt, this is where you and I are kind of two people who, I'm going to say that I've been a successful manager of SDRs. I would assume that you have been, based off of our conversation. You're great. But I look at it very differently than you. And I think this is important for us to know there's not only one way to do it, right? Because for me, I do think that there's, I would say, having the action goals have in most cases served me better than focusing on the result goal. Now, knowing what your result needs to be, working backwards in regards to your KPIs, I think are very, very, very important. But I would also say that you have to know what your average call connection rate is. You have to know what your average call demo set rate. You have to know what your average show rate is. You have to know what your average, email response rate is. You have to know what your average call time is. I mean, all those metrics I think are important on your average over 40 reps. And then you can look at employee A and say, you outperform the average on this side, you underperform the averages on this side, and there's your coaching opportunities in every step of the way. But for me, I think if people only focus on the scale, only focus on the weight, then that can be a daunting thing. If you say, hey, Matt, I got to lose 30 pounds. That's a harder thing for me to say than I've got to go make this many calls a day. And if I make this many calls, on average, I'll get this many connections. And on average, I'll get this many set demos. And on average, this many people show. So I think that the law of averages, in my opinion, and how I coach and train, is knowing your law of averages on the front side to work to your end goal, and then knowing what your end goal needs to be when you know your law of averages compared to everybody else, to know where you need to push and pull. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love this topic here. So I've actually toyed with the fact of doing away with the call number completely.
Okay.
And I get a lot of pushback, and it's not really ever been something that we've actually done. But over the last 10 years that I've been running SDR teams, and I think you would probably admit this too. You tell them it doesn't matter what the minimum is. All right, 50 calls per day is what you need. You look at an average of 20 reps at the end of the day, and you'll see this perfectly straight line across
50. Yeah.
And it's like, I hit my 50. And it makes me so mad as an SDR leader, because I'm like, they know they need to do more than that. They know that that's the base pay that they get. That's the minimum to keep the job. And when you look at top talent across anything, whether it's sports, whether it's sales, whether it's like anything, those people aren't stopping at the bare minimum. Their bare minimum is 20, 30% higher than everyone else's bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a differentiator. The call number helps when you can see across the team which reps are stopping at the 50 right on the dot. Even though they have 50 people left to call in their cadences, they're stopping right at the number. And then you see the reps that are consistently going over that each time. And those are typically the ones that, are grinding out harder. So I think I get what you're saying. And I think from a coaching standpoint, there has to be a line in the sand.
Yeah, I think reverse engineering the numbers is, for me, what I'm talking about. So I meet with that rep every month and I say, okay, great. Here's where you ended last month. What's your goal this month? Okay, great. If that's your goal, here's your law of averages. Here's your connection rate. And your connection rate, on average, we see a 25% connection rate on outbound cold calls, right? Getting to a decision maker 25% of the time. If I'm making 50 calls, I'm getting 10 connections. Okay. That's the general on average, right? Now, they might only need to make 40 calls to get to 10 connections because they can navigate the gatekeeper far better. So then their average can be down a little bit, but they might need to do 15 connections to get 3 set demos. And in order to get to their goal, they have to have 3 set demos because only 50% of their demos they set show, and that's how they get to the number. So we have to know what their number is, know what their law of averages is, and that's what sets their activity number based off of their skills. And then we say, can we improve your metrics? Can I show you how to get past the gatekeeper better, get a better set percentage, get a better show percentage, and then your numbers adjust based off of your quality.
Yeah,
Totally.
I think I'm kind of in between both of you guys on it. Like it's funny because I do reverse engineer it also, because if you come to me and say I haven't got 5 offers a day, all right, how many properties did you look at? How many agents did you call? How many conversations did you have? How many follow up? How many people did you follow up with? Like things like that. I have to reverse engineer it and understand it from the back end. But again, on your side, Matt, it's also like I don't care about your minimum call number, because you're right. If I was like, you have to hit 100 calls a day, then people would hit 100 calls a day, and then they would be like, all right, done for the day, I'm out. But again, you might not have hit your 5 offers, and then you're not going to wonder why you're not getting any. Because I coach a lot of people who are new wholesalers that are getting in there, and you see them like, oh, I made 100 calls. I'm like, all right, well, how many properties did you look at within 100 calls? Like 2. Or how many offers did you get out? None. Okay, you can't get a contract if you never put an offer out. You can't. Right. That's just the way it works. And so you can't. So the minimum call, I understand both sides of it. I'm kind of right in between you guys.
With that said, Matt, the only thing that matters in my offense, and it sounds like in Matt's offense, Matt Walton, and yours, Matt, is the end result has to be there. Yep. I don't care if a rep has a minimum quota of 50 and they make 150 calls a day. If it doesn't result into appointments shown as an SDR, the job is gone. And I don't care if a rep only makes 15 calls. If they get 5 appointments set and their quota is 3, great. But I do think the value of knowing that and using those numbers to drive the person to where they want to be and then past their comfort level, especially in a world like yours and in ours, that's around promotion and development and growing people. That's the big challenge, which is how can I get them to maximize their potential every single day or month?
We used to have this girl at when I worked at a company called homes.com, where we would reach out to agents and real estate agents, and we try to sell them ad space on homes.com. And it was a girl there, top rep, crushed it every time. I don't think she made a single call all day long, but she had this process dialed in where she could get them through email or whatever she would do, or sometimes she would text them, and she would crush the quotas. And she would just literally do it, like come in. It seems like she would come in late. She would crush the quotas and then just like peace out. And the management, I know that showed everybody not the best quality. She never moved up because I don't think she ever really wanted to. Maybe later on she did, but it was just like she was so good at what she did that she didn't have to necessarily be there all the time. I mean, you have all the other reps dialing out 100 some calls, and she'd come in, work for about an hour or 2, and then go smoke some cigarettes or do something else like outside of that. And
yeah, I hate those who love those people at the same time.
Exactly. You can't fire that person.
To kind of go back just a little bit. So Huber, I think we're very aligned in the fact that everyone has their own equation that they need to back into. I think when I'm talking about the call number as an org, that's the number I'm really talking about, is like, how do you draw that minimum? But I would totally agree. And I think that, Walton, to your point, there are going to be people who are much more skilled social selling. They can get 5 appointments a week using LinkedIn because they've built a huge brand. Look at Morgan Ingram. Like, that guy's built such a huge following that he's now almost celebrity status. When he reaches out to people in their inboxes, it's like, whoa, I see this guy every single day on social. So for him, like, if I have a rep that's like that, that's all you're doing. I don't care if you don't have to call or anything, if you're generating those appointments because you've done all this work. So I think there's you gotta.
Yeah, I've got a pretty strong philosophy on this, Matt, and I'm sure you would agree with me. I say there's 4 scenarios. You run my offense and it works, we're all happy. You don't run my offense and it works, I'm still happy because it works. Option 3, you don't run you run my offense and it doesn't work, cool. We share the responsibility of it not working because you're running my offense. You're following the coaching, you're following the instructions, and it's not working, then we've got to figure out how to make it work. And option 4, don't run my offense, it's not working, you don't have a job. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, so like, hey, I'd much rather you be option 1, where you're following offense, it works, or 2, where it works, than 3 or 4. 4 is obviously the worst of those scenarios. So Matt, look, we've spent an hour here. I'm going to be as respectful of your time. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day here with us today. Any final words, thoughts, comments you want to share with us today?
No, I think for anybody listening that may be thinking about getting into sales and getting into, SDR work, I mean, it's an amazing field. It's the skill set that I learned as an SDR that I still use today. It's a set of skills that will help you in any walk of life, whether it's in sales or just, interviewing, any of that. Like, the skill set you get is incredible. But also, I appreciate you guys having me on and dealing with my rescheduling and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, it's been a great conversation. And, I would tell everybody that is listening, the more of this type of content you can ingest, the better. Whether you feel like you've had 30 years of an amazing career or you're in your first month, like, just listening to all this free content is what will level you up quickly.
Oh, absolutely. And Matt, for you, I would say anything that we can do to help you. Obviously, I'm local to Dallas. If there's anything I can ever do to help you around staffing, recruiting, helping you in any way, don't hesitate to ask. Matt, you want to send us out?
Yep. Thank you, everyone listening. Matt, I appreciate your time over with us. If you guys got anything from this like we did, please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell icon. We drop these episodes every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Check it out. Let us know how you think about the episode and give us some feedback. Thank you so much, everyone.
1, 2, 3, 4.